Welcome to Featured Artists Live, a weekly show to discuss and listen to your music. With help from my other YouTuber buddies, we hope to give you words of encouragement, guidance, or simply just enjoy your wonderful creations. I'd like to thank our sponsor, DistroKid, all of the wonderful artists, and all of you for watching. Now, let's get on with the show. Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. That's a fancy new intro, wasn't it? I'm pretty excited about that. Makes me look a little bit professional. Welcome to all the people who are already here in the chat. Lovely to see you here. Don't forget, if you are in the chat watching live, and I can see a few of you there, hit the like button for me right away. I know we're always asking you to do that. Just go and hit it. Apparently it lets the algorithm know that other people should come and watch the show as well. And the more the merrier, I say. And also, if you are live in the chat, don't forget to give us your opinion on the music that we're going to be listening to this evening, or this evening for me anyway, maybe morning for you, maybe lunchtime. Just let us know where you are, by the way, as well. I'd like to thank DistroKid, the sponsor, which is up there. Thank you so much, DistroKid, for sponsoring this show. And I am a DistroKid user, as are most of my guests, I think, who are on the show as well. Great platform to release your music to. We're going to be talking about DistroKid as the show goes on as normal. And if you would like to submit your music to this show to be featured, you can follow the link in the description down below for that. And I'll also say that if you are a Cakewalk user and you're a member of my new Cakewalk group on Facebook, you can also sort of post your music there, and it may catch my attention. And I've been messaging some people and getting some music from there as well, which is all very good. I want to move on right away and bring my two wonderful guests in, gentlemen who I'm always interested to hear their opinion. Both talented in what they do, and as I say, very valued their opinion. One of them has already covered his camera up, I can see in the background here, which is no real surprise because like you would if you had a face like that. There he is. Hello, Ed.
Hi, Mike. I'm Ed, and I hope you're well.
And I am very well, thank you very much. Nice to see you here, Ed. We were discussing a little bit off of camera a moment ago. Are you going to Croatia, or have you been to Croatia?
I have been to Croatia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, lovely place. Yeah, it's
Did
quite
you
like
enjoy it?
Switzerland in terms of it's very mountainous, which I just hadn't thought of. But yeah, beautiful country. Most people speak English, which is useful. But I went with someone who speaks Slavic, which is also very useful. So.
Sandy, isn't it? Because most of us native English speakers, and especially those who hail from the island of Great Britain itself, are probably the laziest people in the world for learning foreign languages. So we're always happy to find people speaking English in there.
It's a combination of laziness and culturally we don't need to because everyone speaks English. So we're not exposed to other languages or pushed into them.
Yeah.
We are yes, we get French, we get taught French and stuff at school, but who cares about French? And
we forget it as soon as we leave school, don't we?
Yeah, you get taught to pass an exam, and you don't actually really get taught to speak it. So,
let us know in the comments in the chat, how many languages do you speak? What about Mimo Japan? I know he speaks English, and I know he's German, so I assume he speaks German, and he lives in Japan, so he's probably got 3 or more. Let us know about that in the comments. Has anyone written any songs in a foreign language? Let's hear about that in the chat as well. I'd like to know. That'd be an interesting thing to do.
Question.
Wouldn't it?
Or second language, at least for lyrics, would be interesting.
Yeah, it would.
Lyrics are hard enough to write in Northern English, let alone in a second language.
Northern English. Well, yeah. Now let's bring in talking about people who speak more than one language. Let's bring in the man himself. Oh, here we go. I can see what's going on here. Here he is. What's he up to? He's just being a child here. Oh, there we are.
Massive improvement. Hi. And Ed is gone. Hi, Ed. Hey, all.
Have you written any songs in foreign languages, Marlon?
I only write in English, so
Really?
that's a foreign language for me. Yeah.
You don't write music in Dutch?
No, because I don't think you either have to be very talented to do it in Dutch, and if you're not that talented, you can do it in English.
Okay. Do you think Dutch is a nice enough sounding language? Here, this is a terrible thing for me to say right off the bat, but is it a good sounding language to sing in? I think some languages are not as good as others, personally.
It really depends. I can hear the lyrics too well, so I don't. So I personally don't like it. But it can be a very strong language to listen to with a hard G and stuff like that. So
Right,
it's
yeah.
not that good. It works for rapping though.
That's interesting because German, you could argue, isn't as nice a language to listen to as, say, Spanish, which is it's a sexy language. But Rammstein songs sound great, and part of that is the delivery of the language and the accent.
But also German rapping is actually really fitting because also it's really strong and really really pronounced.
I bet it sounds quite terrifying and brutal and aggressive.
No, it depends. It really depends.
Rammstein's probably the best band I've ever seen live.
Before we get into things, I just want to say to the people in the live stream chat, I normally like to put some of your comments up on the screen. That's not working for some reason. I can see them off of my second monitor, so you're not being ignored. But if I don't manage to get your comments up on the screen during tonight's show, my apologies. The technology's just not working for that for some reason. I don't exactly know why. Oh, there you go. I'm playing around here. Guys, I'm going to start off with something a little bit different tonight. But for those of you who do not know the format of the show, we'll be listening to 3 songs submitted by viewers tonight. A couple of things on that. I've been chatting behind the scenes to fellow guests on the show, and I've got to say I agree with a sort of consensus, which is I have personally been a little bit tempted to play some of the best music that I receive on the show, and that's fine, but I'm sort of thinking now it's a little bit more helpful to play some of the music that I think may need some attention and could benefit from the critique of other people. So just have that a little bit in mind tonight. That's not to say that there isn't great music in there, but I think there's some things that we can definitely make comments on. So let me know what you think about that in the comments. Again, what do you think in terms of should I play some of the worst music that I receive? Is that a good idea? Ed thinks so. He told me. I'm open to ideas on that, and I think that it'll be interesting to see the way the nature of the show goes. And talking about opinions, I'm just going to do something a little bit different to start off the show. I was watching a video the other day with the great guitarist Tommy Emmanuel. I'm a big fan of Tommy Emmanuel, and he was being interviewed. Now, for those of you who don't know, Tommy Emmanuel he's probably been playing for about 50 years. He sort of got more famous after YouTube came around because he is like a guitar virtuoso. He does incredible things with the guitar, percussive things, blah, blah, blah. I've been to see him live a couple of times, really, really good. And he happens to be a fellow Australian. That's got nothing to do with it. He was being interviewed and he was asked a question by a young fella about opinions, about people giving their opinions on YouTube. And I want to play for you what his reply was. I thought it was really interesting. Here we go, Tommy.
And it's dealing with the criticism that we receive as musicians, especially in an online era where people have such easy access to be negative towards you. How have you dealt with that through your career, and how do you, what do you do to
the problem
process
the
that?
problem I have with this, all that stuff, what you're talking about, is like, since when do I think my opinion matters that much? You know what I mean?
I do.
Since when? Yeah. You know, if you want my opinion as a fellow traveler, as a friend, I'd be happy to give it to you. But if you don't ask for my opinion, why should I think that I should force my opinion on you? You know, I don't get that.
I agree.
So, you know, YouTube, Facebook, and all those things have created a generation who think that their opinion really matters.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. One of these days they're going to wake up and realize their opinion means nothing.
Well, I think he said it pretty harshly. We've gone straight to Marlon there. Hey, just it was kind of spooky. I'd like to hear your opinion on that, Marlon. What do you think?
Well, he has a point for sure. What is someone's opinion? What does it matter if you give your opinion? But what he doesn't realize is that your opinion or your video you make can help others in their research for plugins, hardware, whatever.
Well, I think he's more specifically talking about people's comments in terms of their opinions of people's work, So
all comments, I don't care about comments. I delete them all.
Do you think he's got a point? Do you think he's got a point, Ed? Though, what do you think? Is everyone just thinks their opinion is so important now? What do you reckon?
I think it's time to close my channel because it's all based on opinions. Marlon has a valid point. I mean, he also has a good point in terms of everyone does feel like they can hide behind keyboards and make themselves feel better about themselves by pooing on other people's achievements. But there was a very good phrase said to me, which was the only people who will criticize you are people behind you in the journey. So people who aren't as good at you will criticize. People who are better than you will just think, okay, they're working on it. They understand the journey you've been on. They're not going to criticize you unless it's Marlon, right?
All right.
But no, that obviously comes from a friendly place of care and consideration. I mean, opinions, everyone has one. I think I agree with them that we are a generation now, and I think everyone can be guilty of it, of thinking their opinion is useful. But as Marlon also said, in terms of what we do, creating videos to help other people make decisions, opinions are important.
Well, I think that's the distinction, though, isn't it? That people are coming to us for those opinions. We're not shoving them down the throats in the comments
as influencers.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
However, we became qualified to be influencers, which is another whole thing. I will say though, too, it's kind of interesting because the three of us are going to give our opinions throughout this show on the music that we're hearing, and
constructive
suggestions.
Constructive
absolutely,
criticism.
And that's the point. I guess is that for the people who submit their music, and no doubt we'll have some things to say tonight which are a little bit, let's use the word critical in the negative sense rather than the overall sense, they've implicitly sort of sought our opinion and we're going to give it publicly. But hopefully that will be helpful to them is the main thing that I hope. And I've got to say that we've done 15 episodes now, and I haven't actually told you guys, but I've received a number of emails from artists who have been on the show who have been really thankful for the opinions that people like you guys have given for their music, and it's helped them to think about moving forward for the next releases and things. So I think that's really good.
I've had a few personal messages as well on Instagram and
Facebook.
That's great.
Same here. So that's they're useful. Very grateful if in the criticism, constructive criticism we give to help them out making better mixes or better music. So that's good.
Absolutely. So I'm going to read out some comments here. We've got Doug here in the comments. He's saying negativity is alive and well, unfortunately. Yes and no, Doug. I think that it depends on the people you hang out with. I personally try and seek people who are going to, sort of help me grow in music, in life and everything. And for people that are just full of negativity, then, out they go. Surprising I haven't said goodbye to Ed and Marlon now. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Doug. It can certainly feel like that. And now sausages. Nice to see sausage in there. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. Yes, a classic old one. A drum thing from you there, Ed. No, he's not paying attention. Anyway, so let's move on. The first piece of music in the show, because Ed is not paying attention, I'm going to have him read out the name of the next artist. It's a foreign language name as well, which should really eat away at his northern Englishness. So here
That'll
it is.
be good in Yorkshire.
Here it is. I'll let you read that one out, Ed, and we'll get some information.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming up, we have Nomad Loop by Damar Evans.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, I think it probably is Damar. And anyway, so this song was recorded, mixed and mastered in Studio One. It's mainly got guitars in it, mainly guitars, some other things. Recorded with two SM57s and an SM7B. Guitar process with, what's that plugin? Archetype Pliny by Neural DSP. Haven't got my hands on any of their stuff yet, but everything I've heard is really awesome. And used a synth called Serum, which is pretty well known as well. I haven't personally used it, but very well known. And this music is solely instrumental acoustic guitar, inspired by artists such as Mike Dawes and Alexandra Misko. Again, these are virtuoso type guitarists, and I know Mike Dawes has gained a lot of notoriety recently, especially on YouTube, and indeed he's been supporting Tommy Emmanuel, who we heard from earlier. Anyway, the music he creates is meant to be story-driven and emotionally captivating. Now, he also sent me a remix of this, which was really quite different, I have to say. However, I decided to play the original because that's what's available on Spotify from him at the moment. So here we are. This is the song called Nomad Loop. So that was Nomad Loop, and funnily enough, I was going to go to Ed first, and he's the one who popped up. Ed, it's going to be opinion.
Merely my opinion, let's be clear. Okay, I only wrote 3 things down. Firstly, the guitar motif caught my attention straight away. I like that kind of feel. A little bit Metallica-esque, which is always a win. From a mixing point of view, it sounds like there's quite a lot of compression going on, but there's also some resonant frequencies on the guitar, which, as a result of the compressor, are just a bit muddy and a bit washy. I would suggest putting an EQ before the compressor. It's also worth always trying an EQ after the compressor, and sometimes you need both. So before the EQ, you can, and there's so many great plugins now. Marlon did a fantastic video this week on the new Rezo plugin from Mastering the Mix, which is brilliant. And I know, is it Soothe does a similar thing that finds your resonant frequencies. And also Claro by Sonox is a very good plugin for identifying resonant frequencies and giving you the ability to, the option of removing them. And these plugins use AI and identify them for you if you don't want to do it the old school way of sweeping us across the spectrum and finding the frequencies for yourself if you don't know what they are by your ear. So I'd suggest EQing before the compressor. There was a tuning issue when the bass came in. There was one note on the guitar that was flat, I think. And then the guitar melody, or is it a synth or a guitar? But the high pitch melody came in, and I thought that was lovely. And I was thinking, hang on, that's come in after a minute. Can't that have come in after maybe 20 seconds? Just to keep the song.
You mean like the
moving.
Harmonics? Maybe the harmonics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought that was really nice.
Isn't that a pitch something? Like an octave up?
Could be.
Effect or doubling or something like that?
I'm not a guitarist, so I don't want to guess, but I thought the melody was lovely. Could it have come in earlier? Now, from that point, I felt like it was very repetitive, and I found myself drifting off. But I mean, my attention span's minimal today at best. But that it did drift off a little bit. However, I really did like the sound of the reverb on the high-pitched guitar sound on the melody. I like that.
Okay, cool. Interesting. A lot of the stuff that I was going to say there, so thanks very much for that, Ed.
I always do that. What a talent.
Marlon.
Yeah, as usual, Ed already covered most of it. I wrote down, it's over-compressed, over-limited like crazy. It's so squashed, this song. There's no dynamics. I would cut the intro. I thought it was a bit long. And it's also mentioned in the comments of the video, and then I agree, the bass timing, especially at the start, seems off at times, right? You hear that bass struggling to keep up. And to be critical, I got distracted after a while. 30 seconds in, 40 seconds in, I noticed my attention wandered away. I could not keep attention to this song. There's too much of the same thing going on and on. I would really mix it up to make it more interesting. A little bit more dynamics would help for sure. And maybe chord changes or something like that. So that's what I got from this song.
Yeah, I think there's a number of people who agree with you in the comments there as well. A number of people were saying that they would like to see more chord changes. Sausage thought that the bass was out of time here and there. Someone said, sort of reminded them of Tubular Bells a little bit in a way. Brad Ferguson was saying he wanted chord changes, so was Chris, sorry if I get your name wrong, Chris Peasy. So here's my take on it. First of all, to Demare, I think it's Demare, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I'm not sure which stage you're at, in your sort of music making career or pastime, whatever it is. I think context for this piece of music would be interesting. So if it was for a piece of film, for example, it may work really, really well, even with the repetitiveness, because sometimes for background music for film, you actually really don't want it to be distracting at all. You want it there to sonically create an atmosphere, but maybe not be that interesting musically. So if that was the context, then I'd feel that it kind of worked a lot better. But in terms of a standalone piece of music, I think that one of the tools we have in music is repetition. And we can, if we overuse it, it's one of the worst things that we can do as well. So we need repetition to create familiarity within music, to create hooks and things like that. But once you overdo it, and I think these days that we need to break the rules a little bit more. So, for example, a chord progression like we had there, I think it was 4 chords. Usually at the beginning of a song, a guitar or a piano will run around it twice and then vocals will come in. And I think these days we've got to go, oh, let's just do it once, or maybe straight in with the vocal, because over the last 30, 40 years, those formulas have been used so much that people can switch off like really, really quickly if we're not careful. So, but I disagree with Ed and Marlon in the overall production domain. I thought that you were onto something. I thought the production was fine. I didn't really detect the overcompression that these guys detected, but you know, they may have better hearing than me on it. But in my opinion,
For sure.
but I sort of was more focused, because let me put it this way: the mix and the production, I didn't think was the really problematic part of it. So the other thing is, from a guitarist point of view, and I don't know if anyone would agree with me in the comments. It may be my hearing again. There was one string, an open string, maybe the B string, I think, that was being played throughout the whole piece, which is fine. That's a kind of a drone kind of thing. I think it was slightly out of tune, that string, just ever so slightly, and it was kind of bothering me a bit. So when you release your music and you put it out there, especially if you're trying to put it out there in the context of the artist that you mentioned, those things have kind of got to be right and got to be second checked. And things like the bass guitar being sort of out of time, it definitely was out of time in places, which kind of can make the, I mean, you don't have to have perfect time. I'm not saying put everything on the grid or anything like that, but it can make the listener feel a little bit uncomfortable when they're listening to it, when that bass is just slightly out like that. So
yeah, and it's okay when something is out of tune. It really doesn't matter if you listen to the songs by Richard Dawson. I don't know if you know him. Guitar player as well. He uses a lot of detuning, detuned guitars, and it sounds absolutely great because he intends to use that. If you're not intending to be out of tune, then it can be really gnarly at times.
Yeah, and I have to say, I watched some interesting stuff recently in terms of tuning. I didn't know this, but I was watching, Rick Beato did a great interview with Brian May from Queen, and he was explaining that on the outro of Bohemian Rhapsody, that last little bit where it goes really quiet, and there's, like, I'm not going to sing it, but there's a little bit of guitar just on the end. Brian May was saying that it was actually out of tune, that he was bending the notes. Of course, on guitar, you can only bend sharp, yeah. You can't bend flat. And he was saying he just hadn't got it quite right, so he didn't bend. I think he went too sharp on it, and it bothered him for like 30 years. That was slightly out of tune. I've got to say, I never ever noticed it. He was saying that, and this is the interesting thing for me, for all those people out there who are cynical about new technology, that when they got the opportunity to remaster it, I think in 2005, he didn't re-record it. He pitch corrected it. Just so you know. For all those people, you should never pitch correct. You should just re-record it until you get it right. Yeah. You can argue with Brian May about that, I guess. But yeah, so
his opinions are facts.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And I think the other one, what's the one? Can't remember the one, but it starts off with Freddie Mercury, the drums, and then the guitar comes in. He definitely comes in.
We Will Rock You.
We Will Rock You. Definitely comes in a little bit either out of tune or out of time. I've always noticed that over the years. Didn't stop it being an absolute hit. So, take up.
Speaking of speaking of pitch bend and out of tune, if you listen to Roxanne by the Police,
Yes.
I don't know if they have corrected
Love that
it,
song.
but if you listen to the at least the older versions, you can hear in the very first seconds you hear the tape pitching up like so fun, so fun.
So it's interesting. I think what's my sort of thing is obviously bad timing and pitch cannot prevent an absolutely incredible song from becoming, you know, a massive hit that will last for decades. However, you do have to have a fantastically incredible song to overcome those flaws.
There's a few Fleetwood Mac songs that
Seven Nation Army,
but sound amazing.
Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. If you listen to the timing of that, the drums, not that great. Do you know the song "Free" by Denise Williams?
Don't know.
It's a 70s song. It's actually basically Earth, Wind & Fire with a great singer. But that song starts, I think, 20 BPM slower than it ends. It's speeding up like crazy.
I think that's okay.
Maybe
that's fine.
Maybe it's intended, but it's good.
Yeah, I like
the song actually.
I think regarding songs as they were recorded without clicks, speeding up is fine. I mean, there's a couple of great Fleetwood Mac songs that tempos dive in the middle after the first chorus. That's fine. I think what we're talking about in this track is the subdivision timings between the instruments, and this is something I, as a drummer, I can't help it. I get so anal about quantizing when I do my my songs. But I would say timing discrepancies are the difference between a good sounding track and a professional sounding track. Don't get me wrong, you don't have to quantize everything to within an inch of its life. You know, I've quantized drums in Pro Tools once, and once I did that, I could hear every single track that had been Pro Tools quantized, because there's a feel to it that as a drummer isn't natural. The average person isn't going to notice. But in terms of just tweaking the odd bass note that's wandering or the odd guitar line, if it is a loop, if all these sections in this Nomad loop have been copied and pasted, just it'd be worth spending time just getting those 4 bars or whatever the loop is, just get them to sit right, and the whole production will be elevated considerably.
Yeah,
now I should mention that I said at the beginning that he also sent me a remix, which I decided not to play because it's not the version that was originally sent to me, and it's also not the version on Spotify. The remix has got drums on it, and sort of, I don't know, pretty electronic drums.
Yeah, we'll hear a little piece.
And that makes the whole thing feel like very, very, very different. But as I say, that's the reason I didn't play it. You touched on that there. Now you say it, Ed, I wonder whether he didn't quantize the bass and get the quantized settings wrong. You know, like if something's in, say, straight 16ths, and you actually accidentally, you know, do it dotted like triplets, and it just doesn't work. You know, something like that.
I am not particularly a fan of quantizing to a grid per se. I do really like instrumental timings. That's really important. So the bass has to be in timing with the drums and stuff like that. I don't mind if it goes a bit like this at all. It actually helps the song in most instances. But I lost my train of thought. That's good.
What I sometimes do is I actually manually line things up with each other, not all the time, but just occasionally. So not, you know, there's a bass and a kick drum, so a bass guitar and a kick drum, which are supposed to hit the same note, not all just exactly with each other. It can be like magic, you know. Often that can be just before the beat.
It's the difference between I think
it's
a very small instruments, line them up.
So
can we hear the other remix?
I don't have it to hand. He only sent me the WAV file, and I can't just play WAV files on here, unfortunately. But I'll send it to you, Ed. Talking about Ed, you've got a choice. I'm going to talk about DistroKid at the moment.
Leave now or later? Right, okay.
I'm going to give you the choice about you would like people to know about the Spot playlist feature. Spot playlist.
If you talk about it, you get 50% of all revenue Mike gets.
I just paid myself for a load of DistroKid stuff actually this week. That was fun. Let's go Spotlight.
Okay, cool. Interesting choice. Spotlight feature. It gets entered into this competition where it gets played alongside other songs, and people will vote for which of the two they see on the screen is their favourite. Now, the more likely you are to appear in one of DistroKid's playlists on Spotify, and that means your music's got a much better chance of being heard. So you simply go ahead and select one of your songs, and then you've just got to select a 29-second clip, the best way to go with this, and you've got this nice to do that. You simply then select the Connect with Spotify button, and you're away. There you go. Thanks for choosing that, Ed. Quite an interesting feature and a bit of fun as well. The next song up has got quite an interesting backstory. This one, let's have Marlon read out in actual fact.
Oh, no.
Here we go. Easy.
Can you do it with a Dutch accent?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, but first I have to see it. The next song is Dave Sweeney with Gags.
This song caught my attention in the Cakewalk, in my Cakewalk group. Message Dave and say, could we put it on the show? Just a bit of an interesting one. Now, it was inspired by a news article about a person who went out at night time and was dressing up in a creepy clown outfit. And people were taking photos, and he got a bit of a clown, and he was dubbed Gags, which is that's the title. So background on the actual production: chose a minor key with a weird sounding synth. I can speak to represent his personality. He wanted to create something unsounding music to match the character of this sort of clown phenomena. Production. By the way, I just love songs which are by a thought and idea, so they're thinking about the music in terms of it creating. The song was this is interesting as well. He produced this after watching my series, which I had a series which I created early on in my YouTube career, called Record, Mix, Release, where I sort of went through the whole process of recording a song and releasing it on DistroKid. In fact, he followed that and said that greatly influenced him, which I'm really surprised by, because whatever you guys think of the mix, I actually think it's a better mix than I could do. So figure that one out. So plugins he used were Fab EQ, always some good choices in my opinion. Virtual instruments were Easy Drummer 2, Ed, Modo Bass, Ravenscroft piano, which is one of the best pianos around, and Expanse. And he mixed the song over several weeks, taking lots of time in between so he could gain perspective from Dave Sweeney. Somewhere there.
He's got things to say. He's got demons for free. He's walk around clown now, yeah, creep. He's a one hell of a pig. He's top of the town now. He's a one hell of a pig. He's top of the
Beg your pardon.
Yeah, all sounds. This is my initial reaction.
Yes.
The exact opposite of the last song, isn't it?
Right.
Instantly, this song worked. I really, really liked it. Right from the intro, that mood, right? The mood he sets with the sample mood. It's a bit of a Supertramp meets musical song for me. Vibe-wise, of course, that used and the way he sings. On this, I think it's an excellent song. The only thing I can comment on is in the mix. At times, it's a bit sharp in the 4 to 6K range. You can hear that filtered with that distortion. It's also later in the song it's a bit sharp, but it's the only thing I can comment on mix-wise. I would dip it a bit or do it in mastering or in the mix. But that's actually all I can say about this song. It's really good. I really liked it.
You were frowning a lot.
I love this. Yes, this is a circus theme. I was thinking Psycho Circus by Kiss kind of vibes. It fits the story of this guy dressing up as a clown and wandering around Mike's neighborhood. Might even be Mike. And then I thought, I'm so glad Mike's changed platforms to restream, because hearing that in mono would have been atrocious, because there was a great use of stereo on that. So Mike, well done. I love this. I quite like is it an envelope filter on the VV?
Yeah, some sort of filter with an envelope on it. Yeah.
Chorus C maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, very theatrical. Perfectly match the subject matter. The lyrics quite suited, other than telling him to go home. That was the only lyric that Bowie-esque sound. The arrangement development on this is spot on, and as Marlon said, the opposite to the last track. Things were happening. Every is a bit of a pop, modern pop, of a better phrase, and then it's popular, and you need to keep people's attention. But this song did that. Something changed every 4 bars. Something developed. Incredible orchestration between all the instruments. I was thinking there's one bit when the drums broke down. Fantastic programming, great attention to detail. The danger with programming is just to go and it just sounds rubbish. But the detail they've put into this, massive thumbs up on that. It works well with the bass, and then nothing's overplaying in creating the groove of the song. And this is what turned me on so much about this. I love all that interplay stuff. It's something I think about extensively when I'm doing my tracks with Where's the Space. This was very well done, and as a result, I think it sat very well, and it was very musical, creative section. I had a few different sections, maybe 6 or so, and a few of them repeated nicely. I didn't get bored. I thought the snare sound was a little bit weak. I want more of a rim shot backbeat sound just to give it some drive, because the instrumentation is driving the song in this. I just wanted a bit more of a solid backbone to the snare drum, but that's drummist, purist opinion. But yeah, overall, I loved it, and I'd like to listen to it again at the end of the show, Mike.
Yeah, okay. Well, we might do that as the outro. I'm not going to add anything. I did enjoy this song like right away. I remember listening to it. I think it was last Sunday morning, and I was just like, yes, thank you. This is just fun. It just cheered me up, the whole thing. But also beyond that, look, I think it's a huge compliment to me. Thank you. If he's created this after watching my series, then great. I should use this as an advert for my series. I actually do think it was mixed way better than a lot of the songs that I've mixed in the past, to be honest with you. So
the student becomes the master.
Exactly.
Wait, you can say it closer. The student becomes the master.
But thanks for the compliment anyway. You who are getting bits of this on YouTube, it seems to me like it's buffering on YouTube, but we're simultaneously streaming to Facebook. It seems okay on Facebook in my Creative Source group if you would head over there. But sorry about that. I cannot do anything about it, and it's a bit of a shame. It seems as though it may be okay now looking at it over on YouTube. So thanks for hanging in there in the chat. Marlon, you've got a choice. You can either let people know about, what should we go for here? You can let them know about the pricing of DistroKid, or you can let them know about just DistroKid in general, or the Wheel of Playlist.
The what?
The Wheel of Playlist. It's one of their features.
Oh, do that one.
Okay, can you point to DistroKid for me right now?
Wait, this is yeah,
That's it.
it's over here.
Just
DistroKid.
say, thank you, DistroKid. You're awesome. Just say that for me, Marlon. Thank you,
Your
DistroKid. You're awesome. Let's hear about their Wheel of Fortune. One of the ways to actually get your music heard on Spotify is to get onto a playlist. Now, DistroKid offers a really fun with their Wheel of Playlist feature. Simply head over to your DistroKid account, go to the top right where it says Goodies, Playlist, and then you start off simply by selecting a song, something you've already released, and then click on Connect with Spotify. Now, obviously, the further, more likely people are to actually... So what DistroKid do here with this feature is they give you 3 chances to spin a wheel, a kind of a Wheel of Fortune type of thing going on here. Now, the best result of those 3 spins determines your number in the playlist. And as I say, the higher up you are, the better. So on this occasion, I achieved 1,088. You can try every day if you like. So maybe that's something you'd like to do to actually get your music in a playlist on Spotify. Cool. Have you tried that one, Ed? He's using his
I have, Mike. What gives that away?
I just thought I'd just get you out of your bubble there. Ed, in fact, you can read out the name of our final artist and song here tonight.
Northern accent. Northern accent.
Northern accent, please.
Introducing from...
Very good. Actually, while we're on accents, that was a Yorkshire accent. Can you do a Geordie accent?
I'm gonna get Geordie and Scouse mixed up. Wait, I'm on. All right, now.
Maybe. How about Scottish?
All right. On the creative, I'm running in tonight on Creative Source. We have Kevin Worley doing Art of Stone.
Yes. I love it. Very good. Very from accents. So the song was after a heated conversation about social responsibility versus social freedom. I don't think I want to know about the context of this conversation, although I can probably guess. Usually Kevin performs this with his wife as a duo and a single guitar, and that's something to keep in mind.
That sounds familiar, Mike.
Yes. There's something to keep in mind when you listen to this song. I've got a comment about that later. Anyway, he used a product called Band in a Box, which I've heard a lot of people use in conjunction with Cakewalk. I've never used it personally. Doesn't probably sound like my cup of tea, but each to their own. And I think with Band in a Box, you kind of like give it some chords and it automatically creates a bit of an arrangement of bass, drums and piano or something like that for you. Anyway, he's done that. Now he does one of the issues, because I do ask people to talk about what issues they have in their production. He was saying he suffers from hearing loss in high frequencies. So older fellows like me know about this. Just you've got to be very, very aware as you get on in your years, especially just about those high frequencies. You can easily misjudge the high end of your mix. I think there's ways around it personally, but yeah. And he also mentioned that he was using a really old pair of monitors, which he'd got years ago, in an untreated room when he mixed this. And he's since upgraded to some IK Multimedia iLoud monitors. I haven't used those. Must get my hands on some. And using their acoustic calibration software as well. And is also using Slate VSX headphones. Have either of you guys used those headphones at all?
No, I reached out to Slate this week following my video partly reviewing the Adam Audio SP5s, and they basically said no, they weren't interested in doing a collaboration with me.
Okay, all right. It doesn't mean you have to be negative about them, but it may affect your opinion, I guess. Oh, by the way, Ed,
I'm not going to pay for them for sure. I've got half a dozen set of headphones.
Just to sidetrack, didn't you those Adam Audio? Which ones did you have? The 5-inch ones or the 8-inch ones?
The speakers, the T5Vs, yeah.
Yeah, did you enjoy those without spoiling your video?
Oh, everyone should watch the video, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I watched a bit of the video earlier on.
No, you didn't. I turned them on and genuinely very impressed immediately. Great sound, frequency response is pretty flat. There's in these kind of low cost speakers, yes, there's a tiny bit of I don't want to say distortion because it's not really distortion. THD sound when you boost them. There's a tiny bit of that, but they go loud and it's barely audible. Yeah, really impressive. Fantastic.
Ribbons as well, right? Ribbon tweeters, right? Also
Yep.
the small ones.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
Yeah. I think across the range with Adam, or everything's.
Yeah, but I didn't know if the small ones also had them, the cheap ones.
They do. All right. Well, let's listen to this song anyway. We've digressed. Heart of Stone from Kevin Worley. Get comfortable. This is a 5-minute song, guys. So have a listen to this. Listen. Keep the story in mind as well.
Talking to a friend of a friend. Started out fine when the talk was live, but got ugly near the end. He couldn't seem to see around the blinders that he wore. He was so wrapped up in what was in it for him. He considers life a sport only to win. That's all that matters, only to win. That's all there is. I tried to tell my story to a man with a heart of stone. He wouldn't listen, he couldn't own. He couldn't own what the facts were telling. He couldn't see that the lies were his. He wouldn't open his eyes, no matter what he's shown. He's got a heart of stone. He's got a heart of stone. Walked on down to the meeting room, hoping to stay my peace. They wouldn't even entertain the fact I had something to say. They didn't even notice that the time was growing short. They were so wrapped up in their own little worlds. They considered life a sport only to win. That's all that matters, only to win. That's all there is. I tried to tell my story to a people with hearts of stone. They wouldn't listen, they couldn't own. They couldn't own what the facts were telling. They couldn't see that the lies were theirs. They wouldn't open their eyes, no matter what they're shown. They've got hearts of stone. They've got hearts of stone. With a heart of stone, the truth doesn't matter. A space that can't be reached. It's all closed off. May find an answer. Are there any answers? Glory to a man, he wouldn't listen. He couldn't know the lies were his. He wouldn't open his eyes, no matter got a heart of He's got a heart of stone. Oh, he's got a heart of stone.
Sorry, thank you, Ed. Assuming anyone can hear, we're going to go to Ed first. Before, folks, do check the links in the description down. Links to the YouTube channels of my guests on tonight, both Ed and Marlon. They both have great channels. Marlon particularly focuses, in my mind, on great plug-in reviews. Ed does some fantastic stuff on hardware, particularly on audio interfaces, microphones, headphones, that kind of reviews on that kind of stuff. So definitely check that out. And also, I'm not really familiar with Marlon's music, but I really do enjoy Ed's music. So he's a great drummer. He does some great mixes as well. Not an issue. Ed, I would love to hear from you on this track that we've just been listening to.
The channel shout and the kind words, Mike. I appreciate that.
No worries, mate.
Let's talk about this one. My initial reaction was drum sound, and I'm being kind, I think, by saying this is not appropriate for the song. It sounds like Kit and the file of a TD, Roland TD, whatever. Could be programmed, but there's some humanized bits in that, I think. Lady Antebellum, sorry, Lady A, they had to rename their... That's a great story, by the way. If anyone knows, that's not brilliant. Anyway, I'll digress, but that's a good story.
By the way, hang on a second, Ed.
production.
Marlon, can you tell that Ed only had about 4 hours sleep last night? Just want to do Ed, carry on. It's very interesting.
Let me kind of saying this isn't appropriate to the song. Check out Lady A stuff. Their production is unbelievable for this kind of. It came in. On the vocals, and I thought they were very this person's clearly very good at delivering backing vocals with themselves. Now that might sound attention to detail with your diction, with your syllables, your phrasing, when you're coming off words, when you're starting words, how you're emphasizing words. And I like the vocal melodies, I like the phrasing, and I liked the fact that they were bold to take space between some of the lines. It's very tempting just to fill all the space with lyrics, because you can do, but I think some of the greatest songs aren't afraid to perform on with another bit. It could be another line, or that's good. Now, with the vocals, I felt like the vocals were the only real source of development in the song. Instrumentally, it was very repetitive until the middle eight. So instrumentally, I wanted more development. Now, the song works, I think, because of the melodic development, and the melodic development is good, and the phrasing development is good. I like that. But if it had some instrumental development as well, it would elevate this song again. Everything just going on a loop all the way through, I don't think works, as we've discussed in this live stream already. What else was there? I wasn't convinced by the bass sound being appropriate for the song as well. I thought it was a bit thin and a bit toppy, but then that seemed to change towards the end after the middle eight. That seemed to just get better. Seemed to fit in the mix a bit better. And the mix is a bit heavy on I couldn't quite decide which frequencies, but certainly on my headphones coming in at about 800 to 1.5K was a bit prominent and not necessarily in a nice, easy listening way.
Okay, interesting. Well, Marlon would love to have something left for him to say. So.
Sorry, guys, I do have a habit of saying
no.
It's because I have an opinion, and let's face it.
You do. You make the most
Who
obvious
cares about
points.
your opinion? Who cares about your opinion? Everyone wants to say their opinion now.
We're going to go to Marlon, but as I say earlier, do check out the links in the description. Marlon's released some really interesting videos recently, particularly the last couple of videos. I found them really, really good and interesting. Check them out. He's done some great reviews there of some great plugins, as he always does. So follow the link in the description for that. Thank you, Marlon. One day I'm going to actually listen to some of Marlon's music. I have listened to some of it, like your kind of experimental 45-minute death metal thing.
No, it's really broad. I have several projects going on. My 39-minute doom blast beat metal, which is only in A. Really, we only play A. That's right. Live performance, I play with a bass, which is tuned in 3 octaves in A. It's lovely.
Awesome. Awesome. Anyway,
but no,
getting back to this song.
I do wait. Yeah, sure. You pointed out at the start that hearing loss was an issue and acoustics was an issue and more, and that's all over the song. It doesn't help to, in my opinion, to point out a specific thing, but all things you hear in this song mix-wise are due to bad acoustics. And poor listening conditions. You can hear all the mistakes which happen within a too vibey room, and also the best thing would be to put those speakers in a very damped cupboard and remix everything. Give a whole different perspective. It won't be perfect at all, but it will
maybe
be
even
better
just the headphones. Maybe even just the headphones. Take the room out of the equation.
Could be, but I think I don't necessarily know if that is also. Your headphones can skew your mixing perspective also really badly. That's because of that, there are a lot of headphone mixing tools out there, which I will release a new video on in exactly 52 minutes.
Ooh.
That's a nice segue, isn't it?
That's what I'll be doing in bed tonight then. Yep. All right, carry on.
Yeah, here's a bedtime, right? What worked for me for this song is actually the tempo. If this were any slower, it would be I would lost any attention after I think 30 seconds to 1 minute. So I think the tempo was actually really good for this song. It kept the pacing going on, so that was good. I agree with Ed on everything he said. There's literally no development in the song at all, not even between choruses and verses. It's all one dynamic. That is actually something which is not dependent of your listening, of your acoustics or hearing loss. That is arrangement-wise something you can work on. Yeah, that's about everything I have to say, and I can agree with everything Ed said. For the rest,
it's interesting the last sort of point you made there, because when I got the WAV file for this song, this is particularly striking for this style of music, which I don't think this isn't a country song, but I'm going to hazard a guess that that they come from a country background. The WAV file was like a sausage for this song. It was just very, and I don't even think there was compression. I mean, it was partly compression, but there was, the song did.
I'm not necessarily meaning mix-wise that it has no dynamics. I mean arrangement-wise, you can do a lot. Right? Adding a guitar, changing up the bass. Reminding me of the bass. The bass also had some timing issues.
A little bit here and there, yeah.
I think electronic keyboard bass sound like samples to me.
And
samples.
This is going to be, that sort of touches upon my sort of main point, and I tried to highlight this when I was introducing it, because Kevin and his wife do perform this song regularly as a duo live, and you can hear from the quality of their voices that they are experienced live performers. Okay, you touched on the harmony, and quite typical of partners who sing together. It was really nice, tight harmony. They obviously work together a lot. They know what each other are going to do, kind of thing. What I would like to say to Kevin, when you're watching, I don't know if you're in the chat at the moment. So this is a storytelling song. It's really important. I picked it up in some of the lyrics, some of the background for sure, but the music doesn't, in my opinion, suit this song. Right? I would encourage you to do whatever you do live normally with your acoustic setup. You normally play it with just acoustic guitar and your vocal. Make a recording of that. I would, nothing against Band in a Box. I haven't used it, but forget your Band in a Box. You may have used that as a kind of a crutch, thinking, oh, when I record this song, I've got to have this whole band. Try and record this just as an acoustic song. I bet it would come to life a lot more than actually having all that backing in there at all. Sometimes no backing is better than bad backing, and I'm being a little harsh, but I really think, Kevin, maybe you've done this out of a lack of confidence, maybe thinking, oh, just acoustic and vocal is boring. Nothing could be further from the truth with a good storytelling song. Then people will just hone in on the lyrics, and yeah. I still think maybe it's a little too long, even under that circumstance. I don't know. But you see, length of a song is only dependent upon how interesting you can make it for that length of time. And Marlon's touched upon it there, and Ed as well. Dynamics really is a part of it. And I know I was talking about dynamics in terms of, that sausage wave, but obviously dynamics can be created through arrangement as well, as Marlon was saying. So, I definitely feel, Kevin, I'd love to hear this song again, actually. Can I challenge you to record this song again, but just with acoustic guitar, maybe a bass, just to add some low end in there. But I would ditch the drums and everything else in there, personally.
Maybe instead of the bass with a cello.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, something like a cello could work.
I would try first just acoustic guitar and vocals. It reminds me, it doesn't have to be acoustic guitar. It can even be electric guitar. Depends on what you want. But I really love Jeff Buckley's Live at Cine's EP. I don't know if you know that EP. It's so good. It's just guitar and his voice.
Yep.
It really draws you in right from the very first second you listen to it. It has only his guitar and only his voice, so you don't need anything in backing or whatever to tell a great story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that hidden under this accompaniment here is probably actually a really good song. So I really encourage Kevin. Thanks for sending your song in, and I hope that's going to be helpful to you. And sometimes a little story. I remember there's a song here in Australia called "The Band Played Waltzing Matilda." It's a kind of an old folk song about the First World War, and I used to perform it live when I was gigging solo, and people kind of loved that song and they liked my rendition of it. It was just me and guitar, and then I decided to make a CD and sell it at gigs. So I recorded this song, but in my mind, the song had an orchestra and all kinds of things on it. I spent 4 months recording this song, tracking it, getting these perfect string parts and everything, loads of harmonies. And I played it to a friend, and we just kind of soloed just the voice and the guitar. And he said to me, "Sounds so much better with just the voice and the guitar. You should ditch the rest." And I was like, "Yeah, I know it does, doesn't it?"
It's the MTV unplugged effect. If a song works unplugged, just acoustic and vocals, it's a great song. If it relies on production and doesn't work on its own, then put it in the bin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see we've actually got the comments. You can see me putting them up on screen here right towards the end of the stream. Better late than never, I guess. But there you go. Thanks so much for the people who have been watching. Don't forget if you want to send your music in for some constructive criticism, then please do that. Follow the links in the description down below. Another thanks to the sponsor for the show, DistroKid, who are doing a great job of distributing people's music, and of course, a huge thanks to my bearded friends here tonight. Look at them either side of me with their ginger beards. Full of opinions, these guys, and I'm glad of it, because where would we be without your opinions on these shows? Thank you so much again for the people who have been sticking around in the live chat here. There's a few of you still left, and you've had to hang in there because there was a lot of buffering on YouTube tonight, which surely just really spoils your enjoyment of, especially when you're trying to listen to some music tracks. But you've hung in there, and I appreciate it so very much, folks. Do keep sending your music into me as well. Some of you in there, we've listened to some of your music, and I'm quite prepared to put songs by an artist on twice. Ed asked for it, And I'm going to do it. I'm going to play the second song, which was buffering a lot, actually, in fairness. It was buffering a lot. So we're going to leave on that song. But Ed, any final words from you before you nod off to sleep for the day?
I think the theme of the live show has been to consider orchestration. And I would say consider moving the song along by bringing in different elements every 4 bars is a good rule. It doesn't have to be anything much. It can be a tambourine,
or removing things even. Suddenly,
it can be a backing vocal. It can be a delay on a vocal. It can be a call and response. It can be anything. Just something to give some audible change every few bars. But ultimately, as we're going to listen to now, a great song is a great song.
Cool. Marlon, anything Ed usually seems to speak for you, but anything you can add?
Yeah. No, I
I'm better.
just had a nice... I'm better. You're in UK, right? Still have food over there? Oh. No, I just had a nice outro, actually. Just a goodbye. But then you have to play the song, Mike, so I don't know if you want to do that.
I will do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you for hanging out. Make sure to subscribe to Mike's channel, and we'll see you in the next stream.
He's got things to say. He's got demons free. He's walk around cloud now, creep around.